Okay, I am gonna apologize so much there. I went so far past the countdown. I was on the phone with my uncle. Let me get this down just a little bit more. I don't know why my mic in. Maybe I was clipping or something. Everybody will kind of have to let me know if audio is okay, if the background music is too loud or too quiet. I'm just going to kind of leave things where they're at unless I hear some sort of chat. First and foremost, I want to greatly apologize to anybody that was following the stuff I was putting out with my normal job, or I'm not even going to say it's a normal job. It's far from normal, but my main source of income where I work at Mastermind, between software development and doing the 3D mobile mapping out in the mapping car. Right now is peak season for us, so I've been constantly out on the road, constantly, you know what I mean, like, and I've gotten quite a bit of footage at first when I first started getting out on the road, but I really want to edit together some vlog stuff because it's beautiful weather, but it's Ohio. It's a lot of flat, repetitive. It's like the same thing. I'm in the different places, but the same thing's going on. But here pretty soon, I'll be going back to Indiana, then maybe off to New York at some point, Missouri. Like there's these places that I'm hopefully going to be going or have the potential to go to. So I'm going to try to get on at least. I will be taking a lot of footage. Hopefully, either I will A, find time, or B, find somebody that has time that can help me with some editing. But in the meantime, in the background, I've been working on a lot of stuff out here in the workshop to do live shows like this one. So, I don't really have any hotkeys set up today, which is kind of my fault. So I will be kind of directing my head over here, and that's kind of where the monitor is for me for this PC too. But if we switch over here, I have a few things set up and ready to go here. So just a few basics. I didn't want to go through like things like actually booting the machine and going through all that stuff, because we're gonna have to take this cover off anyways to get at the drive that is in here anyhow. So hopefully we can get a decent enough shot of that. Right now I know it's just kind of my hand in the shot, but anyways, this is what we're going to be putting in there. This Sabrent Rocket 4. I had the pleasure of installing a Rocket 8 a few weeks ago into one of our work computers, or I guess it's been a few months ago now. So this is still a really awesome drive. It's pretty much the top of what you can get. 4 terabytes, should see some pretty decent speeds. Now it is going to be in here with just the basic little heatsink cover that comes with the motherboard. So this ASUS Prime B660 does have like a little main cover that goes over the heatsink, or the heatsink that goes over the NVMe drive. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think when we got the 8, we were in the kind of the same boat where there was too much stuff for us to use the heatsink on the 8 terabyte. So I wonder if my boss Nick kept the heatsink, because we could probably definitely use it here. I'm looking, and it looks like we have clearance in here on top of this drive. But anyways, we should be getting more performance. This PC is what controls all of the mapping stuff. So it's controlling the 360 camera, the LiDARs, the GPS, everything. I mean, some of the stuff like the GPS handles itself for the most part and reports to the PC, but the PC is the orchestrator, right? So this computer is highly important to our operations at work. So it's important for us to make sure that we always have this thing pretty much in tip-top shape. And as of late, we've noticed having the 1 terabyte system drive although it doesn't really slow us down too much. If we ever have a situation where we lose connection, we have a quad 10G network card in the back here, and at some point here I will get a shot of that, but there's 4 of these QSFPs back here, and so, you know, we have a 10 gigabyte, or we have a QNAP 9-bay NAS in the back loaded up with SSDs, and that is iSCSI'd over to this machine. So that's giving us a large pool of storage. It was 30 something terabytes. We were still trying to use spitting drives, but now that we're going to be running all flash, currently we have it set up at like a 16 or like a 14 terabyte setup over iSCSI, but we're going to be adding 5 more drives at 8 terabytes. So 5 8 terabyte SATA SSDs we're going to add. So it's going to just be nuts, man, to think about. And it's all, we have the capability too of aggregating ports and trying to get a 20 gig connection. So it's going to be really interesting. I think I'm going to try to let Windows control that. What I had done before was trunked 2 ports together on the NAS and then tried to bridge 2 ports on Windows, but I don't know if it was trying to like double that process up. That was actually cutting my speeds in half. I had to go back to using just a single Ethernet cable. So I'm trying to figure out some way of actually increasing the speed to the NAS as well over the network. But I think with SATA SSDs, we might be kind of at the peak of what we're going to be able to pull anyways. But it's neat to think that we might get just a little bit more read-write, especially over Ethernet. But for right now, it works out real well that we have one going to the NAS that goes to the computer, and then we have one going to a port actually on the side of the mapping vehicle. So we installed this a few weeks ago. So we actually have where you can plug the car into mains power and then plug Ethernet into the car, and then that iSCSI's into the machines in the office, and then we can pull all the data off. So this leaves a really awesome situation where you can go out and you can record and you can haul butt basically and just go and go and go, and then you don't really have to do much of anything after that point. You just bring the vehicle back and dump your data off. Previously we had to record. So that's kind of what this is going to be in there for. So testing, if we have schnikey moments where we might have to record to the system drive and then move stuff over to the NAS, if that ends up having to be the situation, or if we have a software that's controlling that for us, we're not really quite sure yet. So we're doing a lot of this testing, and a lot of it's working out really well. If you can see the process over time, I've really done much to document it, so that's why I'm going to kind of drone on about it. But anyhow, if we flip over here to the PC input, we're getting ready to, I was going to take this out, we're going to put it in an NVMe enclosure, we're going to get it plugged in here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to sudo dd and clone the 1 terabyte partition, which we can see right over here. Which I'm sure you guys can see better than I can. I do have this set to 1920 by 1080, and I am streaming in that resolution. So hopefully everything is coming out in tip-top shape for you guys. Anyhow, I just noticed I don't have my background music in this view, so if that gets to be too annoying with me switching scenes and everything and the music coming back and disappearing again, please let me know, because I can definitely add it or mute it, whatever people prefer. But anyways, so what I've actually seen a lot of in a lot of videos, and a lot of them cover this subject, particularly on Windows. I've seen this covered quite a bit, and if one of my most popular, or not one of, my most popular video on my channel to date was putting the solid state drive into this machine right here. So, and in that video, what I did to save, so what, take you back. So what happened was I found this computer, I, on a whim, was like, oh, I'm going to start it up. And then I started it up, and there was like all this software and stuff on there. It had already been, you know what I mean? Like somebody had this PC, had spent years collecting this software. I wanted to see if I could find any of the ISO files to play some of the games on it. So, but I know I didn't want to deal with the old spinning rust in there because it was dog crap slow. So in that video, what I did, you know, if you try to do this on like a Windows 10 PC, if you get like an old Dell and you want to take the, you know, probably 5400 RPM hard drive out of it, what you know, everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, but people in the know that you take these old machines and you could basically, and SSDs are so cheap now, you can spend $20, put a 512 gigabyte SSD, you know, SATA SSD in there, and it picks up the speed, so because it's perceived speed too. It's not really the computer's any faster, but it is because things can move in and out of memory faster and read and write to the hard drive faster. And so as a result, you're getting the most out of your machine. So, well, what I've seen in a lot of those types of videos on how to do this, a lot of people will suggest to you to install a AOMI backupper or Macrium Reflect, or even I, you know, use these applications in the past. And, you know, the thing about any of that stuff is it's full of ads, especially if you want to use it for free. Yes, it will work, you know, but I can basically do what those applications do with one, pretty much one sudo command here in GParted Live. And then you see here on the right side of the screen, I have GParted pulled up. So not only can we clone that 1 terabyte, but we can choose to make a second 3 terabyte partition, or we can expand the partition, and we can do everything pretty much right here. And this is devoid of advertisements. It's devoid of a bunch of flashy nonsense, and I didn't have to run an exe file. This machine that we're running this on right now has Windows installed on it, but we are running GParted Live off of the USB stick, and it gives us the ability to do this. Now, it's not always 100%. Some machines you might have to mess around in the BIOS a little bit to get GParted to be able to boot. For instance, I tried to do it earlier on my laptop, and the Dell machine, especially the Dell BIOS, does not like you booting things that aren't Windows. You can change it, but out of the box, it's a little upset when you try to do that. So, but this machine had no such squirrel about it, so we were able to get in here. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get full steam ahead here before my uncle shows up. I'm going to get this in the enclosure, and we're going to get started here. So once I have this in the enclosure and we plug this into the system, we should, trying to find it here. Anyways, we'll take this out real quick, get a look-see at it. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. We definitely got to get a close-up of this guy here. Sorry. Let me switch it back here real quick while I do that. I don't want to make you guys sick with a earthquake camera in your face and stuff. All right. Yeah, buddy. Ain't she beautiful? Yeah. All right, that's enough hardware porn. I mean, because if you've seen one NVMe drive, you know, you've pretty much seen them all, but it's a Rocket 4 Plus, and we'll definitely get some shots of when we go to put it in the PC and everything, you know. But other than it being a Rocket 4 Plus, there's nothing really that much more spectacular about it. Sorry, I have USB-C ports in the front of this machine here. Yellow. Oh, give me just a second here. All right, we're gonna put it on the PC capture, and I will be right back. All right, sorry for the brief intermission there. That was my uncle stopping by. I'm popular today. It is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to any of the fathers out there. This is what I like to do when I have a little bit of free time is bring my work home with me. But honestly, uh, we like to get this kind of stuff done and out of the way when we have free time. So that way, when it's time to be there and be at work, it's time to get work done. And so I'm really grateful to have the job that I have today where I get like the best of both worlds. I get to experience this technical stuff. I'm part of the main deal here and taking care of the mapping PC and the mapping car, and I was real integral in the building process of a lot of this stuff. And it's just, and then I get to go out there in the field right now. It's not always convenient. It does kind of suck having to be out and away from your family a lot, and you don't really get as much time to do the kind of stuff like this that you want to do. But when you do get to do it, it's always something really neat, like the 4 terabyte drive. I don't even know. Somebody would have to search one of these on Amazon. The web browser isn't exactly. This is a pretty low implementation of Debian, and that web browser doesn't exactly like support. It's supposed to be like real basic for troubleshooting and stuff. So I'm not really going to touch the web browser here. Anyways, we should be able to go up here. I'm sorry I have so much stuff off camera. I'm kind of juggling this all together, so you'll have to bear with me. This will definitely come together at some point when we have a little bit of help and have somebody to help me drive some of the back end stuff here. Let's go ahead and switch ourselves over here. Okay, so if we go up here to, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Think I'm out of juice, Tommy. That's a perfect time for your rechargeable mouse to die. Alright. But luckily, we can just plug it in here. Come on now. What the hey? Okay. Well, I appear to have lost my mouse controls, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, or the PC froze. What do we think is the more likely scenario? It does appear that we have frozen. I don't see the cursor moving here. Let's see. Yeah. Interesting. So what happens if we... I pulled the HDMI out even, so let's... Isn't that weird? Well, some live troubleshooting here, ladies and gentlemen. Weird. What is going on? There we go. Okay. Capture card cut out too there for a second. Like everything just went discombobulated. Alright, let's fire this guy back up here. Okay, so here we are. We are in our BIOS screen. That was some really silly behavior. I don't know if we just kind of timed out or what really happened there. We're going to go ahead and reboot into our GParted environment. More than likely, the screen's going to go real teeny tiny because it's going to kick the capture card over to 4K. And the thing that sucks about that for us is it's still going to have everything framed in 1080p for us. So it's going to look really, really tiny. At least I know. We just want to start with all the default options because I've been through this a few times. So we're back in here. We got GParted back up. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and change this. Now this is going to be really, really, really hard for me to see. Give me just a second here, folks. I need to get another real long HDMI cable so I can have this plugged into the TV over here on the workbench. And I think maybe we had it at a high refresh rate for too long. So just for the sake of this, let's go ahead and set it to 60. I did have it set to 144 hertz. But let's go ahead and just set it to about 60 for now. All right. Now that we're back to where we started from, we should be able to see our 4 terabyte drive here now. And we can also see that it is currently unallocated, which for now is fine. But what we do want to note is this right here where it says /dev/SDB. So we know that's our new drive. We want to make sure that we kind of take a mental note of that /dev/SDB, because that's important to remember where your output device is and where your input device is. So we know this main 1 terabyte drive up here at the top is our main one. So this one is going to be a little bit more difficult. So what we're probably going to do is I'm even going to just grab a pen, because that's going to be the easiest method of retaining this information quickly, because I do not see a formal text editor. Or we might just go ahead and put it right into the terminal, honestly. Yep. So that's, see what I mean though? It's a little bit harder to remember this one. So we know our output file is basically going to be /dev/SDB, but this input file is going to be /dev/NVMe. 0N1P3, which is a little bit more of a mouthful to remember. So we're going to go ahead and open up our terminal here. Now, the great thing about GParted Live, it's a live distribution. It's based on Debian, so it's really stable, and there's really no sudo password by default. So pretty much any of these really base system things that you want to do just require you to use sudo, and that's really all you have to do. There's no password to put in. So in the context of doing this, we're going to do sudo dd, and then our input files are if equals, and that's where we're going to need this /dev /NVMe 0N, was that 1P3. There we go. And then we want our output file, OF equals, and then we're going to want to do /dev /SDB. Double check that, just make sure we have that right. NVMe 0N1P3. Yep, all right. And SDB. Cool. So another thing we want to do here is do BS equals 4M, and that's our block size. We can play around with that. Honestly, I really don't think it has a huge effect. Now, what is going to have a huge effect is the speed of this USB-C port. That is where we're going to determine like whether or not it's going to be. Actually, you know what? Yep, that's really our only choice, because that's my only other connection method. I don't have a really good USB 3 to USB-C cable to do this with. So we have the potential where this might end up running in like a USB 2.0 type of speed, where this is only going to run at like 20 megs a second, which it is going to complete, but it is going to take some time. If that is the case, we might not get to the point of finishing up. It's really just got to depend. Let me exit my preview here, see if I have any chats. So yeah, no chats as of yet, which I really didn't expect there to be any. It is Father's Day. I haven't done really anything stream-wise, video-wise in several weeks. So really just kind of putting this out here for historical record, honestly, because I've done so much to this mapping PC and the mapping card. So next thing we want to do is do, let's say it like a British person, status. All right, so status equals progress. And basically what that is going to do is, while this command is running, it's going to output something into the terminal that basically lets you know, hey, I'm still working, this is how fast I'm going per second, yada yada, blase, blase. So that really completes the command, because that's exactly what we want to do. We want to copy all of that over to there, and then once it is there, we can expand the partition with GParted, or we can make another partition on that drive. Really, sky's kind of the limit, how you're dividing these drives up. That's kind of the great thing about it, especially having 4 terabytes. It leaves you a lot of freedom, depending on what you want to do with it. For us, I think it's going to work out swimmingly to have a 3 and a 1 terabyte partition, personally. But if maybe you think I should put the whole 4 terabytes on the C drive, drop a chat. I think it's personally not a very good idea. I much favor the 2 partition approach, but different strokes, different folks, and all that. Ooh, look at that speed. Nice. I don't know if it's going to maintain. Yeah, it's definitely going down. I wonder where it's going to settle in at, though. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it. This fan's blowing over here, right on it, too. It's one of the reasons I have it over here. It's rather warm in my garage, so. Oh, it's still going down. Oh, come on, you USB. Come on. See, this is where I think maybe sometimes up in the block size, maybe, you know? Because it's got to settle in at something over 100, man. You know, please. It's got to copy a whole terabyte, so. Yeah, see, I felt it. It's really not that, it's not warm or anything, so I don't. It's a Rocket 4, but we're running it over USB, so we're kind of constrained by that in a way. But come on, quit dropping. See, I'm gonna have to go back around here and double check, make sure it ain't really becoming a rocket. Yeah, it's nowhere near as hot as some of those 2 terabyte drives I've had in that stupid cheap enclosure, man. The Seagate drive, like, hurt me, like, ouchies. So, come on, quit dropping. It's so dumb. See, now I'm like second guessing myself. I'm like, do I need to, you know, because sometimes with the USB-C, certain cables, you'll have to plug them in, turn them around, or, you know, do we need to make the block size like 16 meg? I think is where it like tops out at, but I'm not exactly sure. This is, yeah, not instilling confidence in me that it keeps dropping. So I know we could use the 3.2 ports in the back. I just don't have a cable to do that. So I'm kind of limited by the crappy USB controller too on this machine, which is unfortunate to say the least. So yeah, we're only 20 gigabytes in. Yeah. See, this is where I need to know, like, if I forgo the block size part of the command, will it auto choose one? Does anybody know? That is the question. My phone is around here somewhere. That would be exactly what I want to know. If we just forgo that part of the command, now that I'm thinking to myself in my head, the last time that I did this, I kind of just said, screw it, I don't really care, I'm just going to let it run overnight, in the context of I want to show you guys once we put it into the PC and boot it up that it indeed still boots into Windows and the same installation of Windows. But know if we're going to be able to get to that point or not here. So let's take a look. Where are we at? So we're in the 70s now. But yeah, we're not even to our first 100 gigabytes. So that's going to take a lot of time. So I could interrupt this with Control C, and then I could, you know, I could interrupt it with Control C, and I could go back through, and I could remove the partitions that I put over, and I could go through that whole process and do that. But with doing that, I also raise the risk of messing something up because it's in the middle of a DD command. So I really don't want to take my chances as far as that is concerned. So what I think I'm going to do, you guys, is honestly just let that run, because I know in the end it's going to do what I want it to do. But essentially that's how you do that. Ideally, you want to make sure that you're doing it on a port that actually has a little bit of speed, or you could even install the NVMe drive internally into the system. The only reason we're not doing that in this instance, we have the quad SFP port, we've got the quad USB 3.2 port card, we've got video card. There's so much in the way of that other NVMe slot that even though that this is going to be a little annoying and it's going really slow, it's still going to complete and do what we want it to do, even though it's going to take a while. So it's best to just deal with it being slow and not pulling your hair out by ruining some of the capacity of your Rocket 4 Plus NVMe drive. So, but at least we know we are definitely upgrading to the new drive, and I know it seems a little lame, but that's really how you do it with one command. Just ideally when you do it, make sure that if you want it to go really quickly and that you're going to be using the full speed of the bus that you have selected, that you have the appropriate cable, controller, and all that sort of stuff. Originally, that's why I wanted to do it on my laptop, but GParted has issues, which is unfortunate because the laptop has Thunderbolt, and that's really what would have saved the day here. But best we can do is just kind of check in on it here. It's like we've kind of settled in 60 megs a second, so which we can see, you know, in this dark yellow part, that not all of that is taken up by data. So really there's, you know, probably only 100 gigabytes or so of data there to copy anyways. So it's not going to take as long, but I'm not going to just keep you guys hostage on a stream for no apparent reason. So what I will do in the meantime, since I'm here, is answer any questions that anybody might have. I have a few things that I'm working on currently. If anybody has tried to visit www.techyeah.net, they will notice that it is currently down. It is down because I am redoing everything on my server. I'm hoping to have it back up very shortly. I'm running Debian 12. So Debian 12 basically came out. Debian, however you want to say it. It was a or according to the ISO site, but it was released. I'll have to double check that. You know what I mean? Let's double check it. I want to make sure it's like, because I was, and I just went there and went right to the new installation, was able to pick up the ISO file. Now on the page where I downloaded it from Debian.org, said it was released June 10th, so really just a few days ago. Yep, so Bookworm, Debian 12 Bookworm, released 6/10/2023. So today is the 18th. I have not had 12 per se installed on any of my systems, but I have dealt with the Linux version 6 kernel. I was able to install the development kernel on this machine at one point. I really like some of the changes. There's been some really nice ease of use enhancements, especially when it comes to running your Linux system overall. And if you have an AMD graphics card, that's what this one is running, and the one that I dealt with before, I had NVIDIA machine. I'm like all over the place because I'm thinking of like all the stuff I've been trying to do off camera. So I'm trying to put the computer in the suitcase still, and I have an idea with that to tie it into so much stuff. But anyways, I have a really interesting thing that I really want to capture it, and I want to do it justice. So how does a computer with a quad core processor and a 75 watt 1050 Ti push out more frames in the old Wrath the Lich King client than my 11th gen Core i7 laptop with an RTX 3060 running Windows 11? So I don't even know how that's like a possibility at all with as far of a gap that there is in the hardware there, other than one's running Linux and doing Vulkan and OpenGL, and the other one is doing Windows and doing DirectX. And so it's really strange because even the laptop, when I have it plugged into the wall, I have high power mode turned on, I have my little G power button, I have high performance on or whatever, and it fluctuates, like 180, 160, 170, 150 FPS, like it'll be, but the Core i7 7700K with a 1050 Ti that doesn't even take a PCIe power input. Now, I know one's a laptop, right? And one's a desktop, yeah? But still, it's a 3060 with 6 gigabytes of video memory and uses like 100, or it uses like 90 watts, 100 watts, something like that of power. Has way more CUDA cores than the 1050 Ti does. You know what I mean? Like, that's a quad core. It might be a desktop processor, but it's still a quad core 8 thread. That's an 8 core 16 threads. So like, it's an interesting prospect, right? Especially with all this buzz and Linux gaming and all this stuff. Like, I personally am kind of nostalgic for World of Warcraft, and it's not even like anything particular other than I've been playing it since like 2006 is when I started, after it was already 2 years old. You know what I mean? Like, but still, that's been forever ago. It's so long ago that it was such a part of my young adulthood too. So like, it will always be with me. So I've always tried to like preserve some of that by running my own server, and I've been getting back into that as of late. So that's moreover what I've been trying to tie everything into. So, but what I noticed was I was able to install Debian Linux and then use even the non-free NVIDIA drivers, install Vulkan, install Wine, install 32-bit support, because the Wrath client, the old 3.3.5a client, is 32-bit. And I was able to do that, and it runs at like a constant 199 FPS. And it does not fluctuate, it just like stays there. So I don't know if it's reporting it wrong, but it feels smooth as heck too. Like when you're playing it, it looks great, it feels great. And at the same settings, the laptop somehow with the RTX 3060 runs worse. And I just don't know how that's possible. You know what I mean? Other than one's a desktop, one's a laptop. But there's such a gap between the hardware that there's no way that they should run almost the same, but the laptop should be a little bit better, I feel like, but it's just weird. So what I'd like to do is test with some desktop class hardware. Unfortunately, I will not have this in the shop past today. It's a neat thing to think about, though. If it wasn't busy doing all of this, I would definitely try to run that on here and see exactly, like, make sure I'm not just crazy. But the other desktop in the house is Bubby's PC, and it has a 1070 in it, so I could always test it on the 1070. The RX 570 8 gig in there only runs at you know, it like fluctuates. It can run at about 100 FPS at times. It just depends on what settings I have it set to. But it's just crazy how in Linux with Vulkan I'm getting 199. That's just, it's great, man. I really, really, really want to do it. Because I didn't even really notice it, other than I've been running the client on different machines. I've been connecting, you know, back to, I think, Warmain, just leveling up a BS character on their X7 realm just to kind of get my decompression on in my brain. I've been playing the game for so long. So made a mage and named her Swipes Left. It's like trying to name her Tinder Girl. It didn't really work out too well. I think on the PvP realm I was able to name my Warlock Backpage. Just, you know what I mean, like just to troll people, I guess, because usually you fight a lot of people that are really terrible on private servers, or they're really, really good, but they speak Spanish and you can't communicate with them. So but you meet people from like all over the world. It's not so localized like it is when you play on retail or World of Warcraft. Even when like playing Classic and all that stuff, you know, you're like almost guaranteed to be playing with another person like you that's played the game forever. And what I've noticed sometimes when you play on private servers is you can still sometimes run into these people that are like just getting into the game or don't know that much about the world and all this stuff. And so, you know, you have that dynamic when you're running the guild where you're like kind of walking people through the game. And, you know, you make really cool relationships that way sometimes. And it's really neat when everybody speaks a different language and your common language is World of Warcraft, which is pretty cool for a guy that has a Ford logo tattooed on him, you know what I mean? Like, that just kind of gets me going a little bit. But anyhow, let's go ahead and check in on our progress here. Let's hope. I've been trying to jiggle this mouse every few seconds. So yeah, I guess that's basically what my biggest fear was there, was running like closer to USB 2.0 speeds. And that kind of seems to be almost what is the case here. It kind of sucks. We're limited by my lack of cableage, and to make sure that this does not happen in the future, I'm going to make sure that I order a USB 3. What is that, 2 Yeah, I believe these ones are 3.1 Gen 2 or 3.2 Gen 1. Who knows all that USB crap? I just know that I need an NVMe enclosure and a cable that I can use that'll work on USB 3.0 Type A ports too, not just a USB-C cable. Because not every desktop has a USB-C port. This one does, but it's hooked up to the front panel USB-C connector, which apparently goes through just like the regular bog standard USB controller on here. It's nothing special. It's not even really a C controller. It's just a it's definitely not even 5 gigabit because of the speeds we were seeing on there, which is unfortunate for the context of this live stream. But you know, I didn't do a lot of planning ahead of time, so that is my fault. Y'all can roast me, man. I'm throwing it out there. Like, you know, like I'm just so sick and tired of having this set up in my garage and never really using it for anything. So, you know, and I learned something today. I'm like, because I ordered some of these, I definitely could have done this. I could have just used this NVMe to PCIe and just pulled one of those cards out temporarily. Probably what I should have done in the retrospect. But that little silver enclosure is a lot faster to put it in there, and so that's the route I went with. Copied 65, or yeah, 65 gigabytes. So we're actually pretty far into there. Because like I said, if we look over here at GParted, it's just this dense yellow area that actually has any data saved to it. So what does it say used? 110 gigabytes. So after that, it's just a bunch of open blocks. So it should see it want to finish up. So I'm kind of just holding out. Maybe I'll just talk at the camera randomly like I've been doing for the last, what was that, 1 hour and 6 minutes. I'm such a winded talker, you guys. I'm so sorry. I'll hold you hostage. I'm doing it. Yep. Random people on YouTube, you know, they're like, oh, what's this guy talking about? I'm like, hey, got him. What's he doing? Got him. All right. So, today is the 18th. In about 11 days, we are supposed to get the RTX 4060 non-TI. It's going to have a retail price of $299. I don't know, man. If it's faster than a 3060 for the same price, and if you already don't have a 3060, like I don't, this mapping PC has a 3060. Like, I'm running, you know, Wrath client from, you know, 2008. You know what I mean? It's not like it requires. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm upset how some reason that outperforms that, because how does that happen? It's from 2008. Like, I get it. But so I guess I gotta put Linux on my laptop to get better performance out of my WoW client, you know. Because there was a time I even had NPC bot and a bunch of other stuff on my server. So I'm in the middle of reworking. My wife and I would like to try and get enough people playing on our server to justify having it running, because we do have a very solid fiber connection here. in this quad core i5, we would be willing to upgrade to something a little more, accommodating for more people. But it'd be interesting to see, especially with the 1 gigabit connection here, how many players we'd be able to get on here before we have to be like, okay, we definitely need we need to go up to the 5 gig or whatever. Because we do have the ability to do that here. They keep advertising it. Just don't have that kind of money. or a base 10G network to actually support that kind of speed. It would be like a waste of money right now, but who knows in the future. $75 gigabytes. We're getting there, slowly but surely. Still full battery here. Yep. Well, I don't have any chats. It's hard to come up with stuff to talk about. This is going to be running for at least another 30 gigabytes. I would encourage, if anybody is watching, to leave something in the chat box if you would like me to come back on when I go to put the drive back in here, because it's something I'm definitely going to have to do as soon as it is finished. But for the context of this live stream, that's pretty much all you do. Just make sure that if you want to do it quickly, that you make sure you have the drive speed ahead of time. There's a few ways to do that. You can install Crystal Disk Mark and make sure that the method you have it connected to the PC, and because I do have Crystal Disk Mark installed on the Windows part of this PC. I just didn't bother to test it via this cable before I did the live stream. It's kind of a last minute decision, but I definitely wanted to get in on and just update on a few different things. So, also, I mentioned weeks ago, and I know, I think it was Tommy Gunn or one of the guys that watches some of my videos definitely wanted to see how you install Apache and MySQL on a Linux machine. So we'll start with a fresh install of Debian Linux, and then we'll install the newest version of PHP, PHP-MyAdmin, MySQL, you know what I mean? And then we'll put WordPress on there after we've installed our Apache web server, and we'll set up the machine for things like SSH, so we can do, remote connections via the terminal. And then we're also going to set up XRDP, where we can use the standard remote desktop client that's built right into Windows, or you can download for Mac, or the remote desktop you can even get on your Android phone or on your iPhone. So you can use those tools and you can connect right into your Linux machine. And then there's even ways where you could set that up and port forward through your router, where you could have a remote login Linux environment to use to your heart's content anywhere in the world. And that's how I use it. So because, I have my website and everything, and even though there are other methods to managing some of the back-end stuff, personally, I like being able to log in with the terminal, and then if there's other things that I need to do, maybe more involved, or update the system, or even just have a secure system, or I can edit files for the website, not only write in WordPress, but if I need to edit one of the text files or something, I can do that right in VS Code, right inside of the Linux environment, and save it right there, which is instantly available for your website. So, and the great thing about it is all this stuff is repeatable. So if you rent a Linux server from Linode or AWS or any of these other places, all the same methods apply. So you could also just be running a Linux server, and then you could be using it basically to serve out desktop environments to your thin clients. That's also a really good way to, especially with Linux gaming getting better and better, if Parsec would just allow Linux hosting already, You guys need to get on it, man. See, that's the only unfortunate thing is like remote desktop protocol isn't necessarily fast enough to game over. But once it is, but outside of that, for editing file, there's so much you can do with Linux, especially if you just need a secure environment to browse the internet on. That's not Windows. Works really good for that. But especially office buildings, stuff like that. Instead of having Zen desktop, you could literally just have a really nice Linux machine and then a bunch of little thin client boxes that all remote desktop into the Linux machine over XRDP. And you know what I mean? Then you can manage all of your user counts, client storage, all in one machine. And you can do that all without paying out the nozzle like you would for Windows Server setup. So it's an interesting prospect, man, because everybody like uses TrueNAS and that kind of stuff, but there is like neat little way where you can have more than just a thing that you can IP into through the browser. You know what I mean? Like you have a fully involved desktop environment. Especially if you have an old machine, it's great. Anyhow, check this one more time. $89 gigabytes. Still decreasing in speed somehow, which is just fantastic. But I'm gonna work on getting the WoW server back up and running as soon as I have that ready to rock and roll. I really would like to poll some of my viewers to see if anybody would be interested in coming to play on it, because I've considered making a hardcore realm, because I actually think that something like a hardcore duos, I actually think that's an interesting prospect. I don't so much think that like playing the game solo and hardcore. I just kind of think the game was never meant to be played like that, and it's already so aggravating and everything at low levels especially. And then yeah, I just think that duos are something to that, man, especially like because you probably could go throughout the whole game. It's interesting, to say the least. But anyways, if anybody be interested in playing on it, I would like to know about it. And then installing the web server and doing all that stuff. I have a Word document that's about 4 pages long now of everything, step by step, each Linux command. I really want to put that into the OBS in a way where it works, where you get the information while I do it. But outside of that, I want to also make sure that I add a page to the website that goes through and has the tutorial and a text breakdown as well, because I'm going to update it as Debian gets updated, and especially now that version 12 is out. I very much plan on using version 12. I'm very much a Debian enthusiast. It's not anything against any other distribution of Linux really, but Debian's like kind of the OG Linux distro at this point. There's not too many other, I mean there are other ones that have been out for a while, but when it comes to being like a stable, good operating system that just works when you need it to, that's what it is. I like Ubuntu, but sometimes I think they sacrifice some of that, and Debian is just as good. So it's like I said, me personally, I'd just rather use Debian than use a operating system based on it. You know what I mean? Like, and I know Debian is itself, but it's Debian if you look at the history of it, because it's more than just, just regular. That's why the RAM, right? It's not your regular Tux Penguin Linux. It's an amalgamation of two different things. If you want to know what I'm talking about, look up the history of Debian Linux. I have kept you hostage long enough. Thank you so much for watching me. You all have a beautiful Father's Day. I love you. Catch you in the next live stream.